The Raptors have a serious problem that they must fix fast if we want any hope of getting out of the middle of the Eastern Conference, the no man's land in the NBA where you're not really a contender, you're not even in a place where you can compete with the contenders, be a pretender or anything along those lines, but you're not bad enough to really suck. And that's what the Toronto Raptors are currently at, and it's due to a couple of major issues, but one thing in particular needs to be fixed. And it's been a clear blatant problem over the past couple games. We saw it against one of the league's worst teams, and tonight we saw it against one of the league's best teams. And yes, against the Washington Wizards, especially with some heroics from Pascal Siakam, you can still scrape out a victory. You can scrape out a win if you are sort of putting yourself in those situations. But the Toronto Raptors just don't start off games strong. They're just not coming into the first halves of these games, the first quarters, whatever the heck is going on, right? Darko Rajokovic, he can do those halftime speeches. Heck, even in the late fourth in this one, the fourth quarter for the Raptors, Darko got the guys motivated again. They made a little bit of a push, but against the Giannis-less Milwaukee Bucks in this one tonight, and against the brutal Washington Wizards in the prior game, the Raptors just have come out extremely flat, and that's a huge issue for this Raptors team because of a couple major reasons. This team, we know, they are top heavy. We have a lot of guys that have a lot of talent, at the top of this Toronto Raptors lineup. They're getting paid like it, they're getting hyped up like it, but obviously Pascal Siakam's been an all-NBA dude. And we are without OG Anunoby, we are without Gary Trent Jr., all that type of stuff. But, this is an issue that's plagued this entire season. The Bucks were without Giannis Antetokounmpo, so there's no real excuses. But the Toronto Raptors have a guy like Pascal Siakam. They have a guy like Scotty Barnes, who's emerging to be a star. Dennis Schroeder, who has really impressed a lot of Toronto Raptors fans, established himself as a proper top point guard, a starting point guard, a lead point guard in the NBA. We have Jakob Poeltl, who we gave a big contract to this off season. And, with these top heavy sort of roster, because our bench is filled with a lot of unpredictable players, a lot of guys that are sort of finding their footing. We knew it. They're younger, all that type of stuff. The starting lineup for the Toronto Raptors, as it did last year, even though we did come out flat in certain games last season, the Raptors starters were really, really strong last year. It was when the bench came in is when we had these weird amalgamated lineups where the Raptors really usually had things fall apart over the course of last season. But now the script has flipped a little bit, and the starters for the Toronto Raptors, they're just the, tone that's getting set at the beginning of games. It's putting the Toronto Raptors in a massive hole. Then when everyone goes out there, it just becomes a huge struggle, and the Raptors have to claw their way back at the end of the game. And yes, there were some exciting moments at the end of this one, but the hole was just too deep. It was dug too dense for the Toronto Raptors to really bounce back, and it just sucks to see because we know that this Toronto Raptors team has more talent than they sort of show at times. I mean, we just played this Milwaukee Bucks team with Giannis couple weeks ago and dominated. And yes, we had OG, Gary, all that type of stuff. I don't even know if OG was playing. Yes, he was. But he faced off against Giannis in that one. But, man, I just hate how the lack of, I don't want to call it lack of heart, but, that sort of corny verbiage, in regards to regular basketball talk. But I don't get why the Toronto Raptors just sort of come out flat and look scared, frankly. That's more so the wording that a bit more aptly describes what the Toronto Raptors are doing. Pascal Siakam looked like the only guy that was comfortable shooting early on in this game, and he was not too great. 4 of 9 from the field. Took some shots. I'm surprised that's the amount of shots he ended up taking. Obviously was benched during the fourth quarter. Scotty really turned it on as the game went along, especially things picked up later, but Scotty was solid the second half and got things rolling and push that sort of comeback at the end. So shout out to Scotty Barnes for ended up having a big night, but 29 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists for him against the Bucks. But overall, just from the eye test, just watching this game, the team looks scared shooting the basketball, and we're going up against a Bucks team without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yes, Brook Lopez is a force in the paint defensively. Chris Middleton has some long arms. There are some good defenders in the Bucks, but without Giannis and Damian Lillard sort of added to this mix here now, they shouldn't be a scary team to face up against on the defensive end. And the squad, I know Grady Dick, he's especially the second half, was a bit more comfortable shooting the basketball, at least in terms of letting it fly pretty quickly, but 1 of 6 from the field. Schroeder, had a hot start from behind the three-point line early in the season, had a slower trigger in this one. Poeltl had some shots underneath the net, but overall, the offense, guys that are coming in as well off the bench, just they'd be scared to take those looks, and then they are forced to hoist up a shot at the end of the shot clock that just didn't really make sense. And that's the sort of feel I got, and it shouldn't be happening against a Milwaukee Bucks team that doesn't have Giannis Antetokounmpo. I know that they're a good squad. I know they came in motivated after the Raptors lost, or the Raptors beat them in the last game, but frankly, the team needs to come out with more energy and needs to get into the flow, into the rhythm of everything that's going on, take the shots that they need to take in order to win games right from the jump. Sure, they might not go in right away. Sure, we might get shot out of games and lose to better talents and all that type of stuff, but we can't be playing scared. And we even saw a little bit of flashes of it against the Wizards, who are one of the worst defensive teams in the league. So the Raptors have to figure this out because it's an issue that has been plaguing them at the start of these games. They dig these holes and they try to build their way back with some momentum, with some driving kicks. I like the paint touches, especially Scotty Barnes was getting there in the second half, but knocked out some threes over the course of this game and stuff. But I don't know. The Raptors just have to come out with a bit more of that confidence in terms of, taking your talented guys. The ball is swinging a little bit, does revert. Our offense is weird by possession. It's tough to really describe everything that's going on in this game specifically, but I mean, we get the ball swung into the hands of our top guys, and then we got to shoot it. And they make those drives, those passes have to go out, and then we got to fire up those shots. And off the bench, we had McDaniels get a lot of run, especially in the second half of this one again. But he's not really making his shots. He had 1-3 in this game. Chris Boucher had some buckets underneath the net. Temple hit a nice shot at the end of this one, but Otto Porter Jr. only 11 minutes, donuts across the sort of box score there. Had a rebound, I guess, but I don't know. It was a rough outing, and Flynn, again, we can talk about him being more confident and looking like a competent basketball player, and he has looked like that. I mean, Flynn, I thought, took the right shots. He didn't look that scared, I want to say, but if you're shooting 0 of 8 from behind the three-point line, that needs to be fixed. That needs to be fixed for Malachi Flynn. I talked about in every pod how his jump shot looks really smooth, and he's playing better. He is certainly playing better, but you can't go 0 of 8 from behind the three-point line. It just can't happen if you're going to be a point guard that's relied upon, especially with Dennis Schroeder dealing with a knee injury. And injuries did play a factor for the Raptors, but the Bucks also had injuries. This is a game that we should have came out and had more fight in. That's the only real way to put it. And the Toronto Raptors, if we want to sort of get out of this basement. We're not in the basement. I wish we were in the basement rather than the middle of the pack. But if we want to push our way up, to the sort of the middle top of the standings, because I don't think we're going to be able to compete with the Bucks, the Sixers, or the Celtics at the playoffs come this year. But if we want to get into that playoff picture, get to the teams that we know we can compete with, at least talent-wise, we got to come out with a bit more energy, a bit more focus along those lines. But off the bench, there were some positives. Again, Grady Dick, I like the way he's sort of approaching the games. Shots got to go in a little bit more, and he's got to sort of shoot that ball. I thought the second half he took his shots a little bit more quickly, took more of the right shots, but again, when the game matters, you got to really sort of knock those things down. I like that Rajakovic is still giving him runs, still giving him opportunities, even though the shots have been going down, because he's playing the right way. Precious, again, 4 of 7 from the field, 11 points. From the box score, this looks like one of his better games, but from the eye test, didn't really just come out and dominate or anything along those lines, really. But Jalen McDaniels, goodness gracious, plus 21 in this game. That's kind of ridiculous considering the Raptors did get blown out in this one. But Chris Boucher doing his thing with the plus. The bench came in and did some solid stuff. Again, flipped the script from what we were sort of talking about a couple weeks ago. But one guy I do want to briefly mention is Marquis Nowell, who came out fiery. 5'7", NBA debut. Again, I don't even think he scored. He did. He got a point. He got a couple free throws there. Got his first NBA buckets. Congratulations to him. But you see the box score. 2 rebounds, 2 offensive rebounds, hustling within the trees, making his impact on the game. Got a couple of assists. One gorgeous behind the back dime to McDaniels. Making that little run there at the end. Got a steal, hounded on the defensive end. Again, it's going to be tough for Marquis Nowell to really get buckets and score in the lane, especially with his size and stuff. We saw him drive into the paint, and then the trees sort of get in there, but he finds a way to just make these nice passes out. He's making extremely smart decisions, and with his elite passing ability, that could lead to more shots opened up as the scouting report gets picked up on him. And frankly, I was really impressed with what we saw. Limited run, limited rotation, limited burn for Marquis Nowell in this one, but going up against Brook Lopez, who Adrian Griffin kept out there for a large chunk of the garbage time minutes and stuff. I thought Noel did a good job at making decisions. You're coming out there proven he deserves a shot. Give him some actual minutes during an important game, especially if Schroeder is going to be dealing with some knee injuries, some knee soreness and stuff. I'm excited from what I saw from Marquis Nowell. But let me know what you guys think about all this Toronto Raptors sort of messy last couple games. We got to win at least against the Wizards. Ugly one against the Bucks. Again, I'm not going to get too hung up on losing the Bucks, but they were without Giannis, so the team has to come out and get some W's. I know Dame was ridiculous defensively. We have to figure all that stuff out, but I don't know. I just want the Raptors to come out with a bit more fire, have a bit more confidence starting off the games. But you guys are the best to make us far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.